Bob Gries Jr. is currently the largest shareholder and board member of Crius Energy. He's also the founding member and current managing director of the Gries Investment Funds. Today, Bob is going to be speaking with us about the indispensable marriage of finance and innovation. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. Good morning, and this is really an honor to be here today, and thank you for joining us. It's really very difficult to take 30 years of your life and squeeze it into 10 minutes, but I'm going to try to do that, and I'm going to try to share some things with you that may be helpful to you, either personally or professionally, about finance. My job is really very simple. I'm a professional investor, and I go into the office every day, and I evaluate business deals. And the goal is really simple: to look at them, discard the bad ones, keep the good ones, make money, make lots of money. That's really how simple it is. But like anything, as you know, it isn't really simple. And at the very core of it, at the very core of being successful in business or being successful, certainly in investing and in finance, is about understanding risk and assessing risk. And there are two principal, I think, when we look at any type of investment, two principal areas of risk. The first is, who are the people that you're doing business with? And it always shocks me how often people kind of overlook that. Today we have tools to kind of evaluate that we didn't have when I began 30 years ago. Today you can Google people and you can check people out very easily, but many people still don't continue to do that. And so the most important thing, you can take the most wonderful opportunity, whatever it is, but if you're truly doing it with the wrong people, then it's not going to be successful. And I would really say there's two kinds of wrong people. They're in the business world and the finance world. The wrong people are either ones that are not really smart and intelligent and understand the business, or people that are just not honest people. And so you have to look at and evaluate each of those and make sure you found the right people. And then the second area of risk, of course, is understanding the business itself and knowing as much as you can about it. But the interesting thing about business is that as much as you can read and learn and understand, there's so many elements that you just never really see coming. I often say to people, look at the last 15 years. Going back into 2000, it looks like one of the most obvious things in the world when NASDAQ was up at 5,000 was to have sold all those stocks, or if you were in the business, shorted the stocks, you would have made tons of money. But I don't remember anybody standing there in 2000 shouting out the windows, sell all those stocks. All the smartest people from Wall Street, no one was doing it. And just 6, 7 years later, we're sitting there in this big real estate bubble. And again, that was just really, I guess now, 7 years later, really easy to see that everybody, speculators were buying all kinds of things, this kind of had to crumble. And yet, how many people in the world, not just the United States, in the world, evaluated that correctly and either A, got out, or again, kind of shorted it and made money? Maybe 10 people in the whole world. And only a year ago, when you look at the oil industry, one of the biggest industries obviously in the world, how many people sat there when oil was $100 a barrel, which is only just a little more than a year ago, and said, I see the future a year from now. Oil is going to be at $40 a barrel, okay? How many people said that? I mean, again, I don't remember anybody saying it. So that's how challenging the business world, even when you have all that information. And so assessing risk is hard, but the best way I know how to mitigate that, okay, really comes from experience. And I mention this kind of as a second point because, we all get better. I've done probably 200 deals over the last 20 years. And I am certainly much better at evaluating things today than I was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I look back sometimes and I think, what was I even doing 10 or 15 or 20 years ago? I mean, you know, you're learning every day, and I look back then and I go, oh my gosh, I mean, I just can't even, you know, believe it. It's almost like being a parent, you know. You look back today, you've had a bunch of kids, they've grown up and all that, and then you look back to where you were 20 years ago with your first child and in those early years, and it's like almost frightening that you go, you know, what was I thinking? What was I even doing? I was just kind of grabbing on and just holding on for dear life. So, what do you do in the finance world? So the best thing I know to do, which again people don't do, is you have to just go out there and speak to everybody you can to get their opinions on things before you invest in them. As many knowledgeable people as you can. Now that seems again so logical and obvious, and people don't do it. And people don't do it because they get all excited about something and they don't want to really, you know, have their balloon popped. Just last night, I had two friends, very successful business people, sold a business a year ago, made a lot of money, now they're really kind of bored. And they came to me, they said, I want to talk to you about a business that we're looking at investing in. They came over, you know, and I listened, and immediately I kind of saw some problems because I'm very objective about it. I'm not emotionally involved. And as soon as I kind of started sharing this, I saw kind of the life go out of their face, how kind of bummed out they were. And I'll give you an analogy too. It's, you know, it's like, well, I have a 17-year-old daughter, so maybe some of you can relate to that. And, you know, if she brings someone home she wants to go out with, and you kind of evaluate that and you say, I don't really like this idea, and you kind of tell her that, the next time around, she's just not going to bring that person home for you to meet, is she? You know, she's just going to go on and kind of do what she wants to do. And it's the same way in the investing world. So what I say to you, whether you're doing this personally, whether you're doing this professionally, you know, or your business, you have to just force yourself to go out there and talk to as many people as you possibly can and really try to listen to them. I know when I was 30, I didn't want to really listen to anybody. I mean, I was headstrong. I thought I knew everything. And I, you know, say to people, when I was 30, I knew everything. And when I was 40, I realized I didn't quite know everything. And when I was 50, I don't really think I know much about anything. But I know a lot of smart people that do. And the fortunate thing for me is I have a lot of investors who are really, you know, were successful in their businesses. So if there's something about real estate, I can probably go to 10, you know, different people, and in banking and this and that. And I forced myself to do that. And I learned so much from those people. So that's one of the most important things that I would really share with you, and force yourself to do that, and force yourself with even any new business ideas to do that. The third thing I'd say is, I think one of the real challenges in business and in investing is, you know, we're all impatient, and I always say to people, my goal is really this. My goal is to hit singles and not strike out. And occasionally, a single becomes a double, or a double becomes a triple, or once in a while, you hit a home run. You know, you hit a lot more singles than you do home runs, but that needs to really be your goal. And I think, again, people's goal is just the opposite. They get kind of frustrated, they see what others are doing, and they want to be an immediate and overnight success. And it's just never happened that way for me, and I don't think it happens that way for most people. Now, that's probably not true. There's some 22-year-old kids that are inventing things, and they're, you know, billionaires by the time they're 24, but they're really the exceptions. They're not the rules. So that's one of the things that I think is really critical, that you have to be disciplined. And I know in my own experiences, the business transaction that was the greatest success for us was also one that a year into it, I remember just about 6 months into it, our controller came in and said, do you know, we just lost $1 million this month. And I couldn't believe it. And I thought, geez, I must not really know what I'm doing here. And panic kind of set in. I went home one week and I just kind of laid on the couch for like 3 days, figuring, how did I make this mistake? But then I kind of just got up and I figured out what we had to do, and it didn't happen immediately, but it did happen gradually and did become successful. And so I think, again, it's really important, be disciplined, be patient, and hit singles. And then what I would share with you, I think really, and this is, and I say this really an awful lot for the young people here, I think one of the hardest things for people to do in anything, but certainly business, is say, I made a mistake, or I screwed this up. And sometimes you really don't. Maybe sometimes, again, you do everything the right way. We almost bought an oil company 2 years ago. It sure looked good when it was $106 a barrel. And, it wouldn't have looked very good today at $40. But, if we had, I don't think we would have really made a mistake, but circumstances just change. But sometimes you do. Sometimes you just don't do your best work. And I know, and I say this to anybody interested in going into, and again, I say this again as strong as I can to the young people here. If you're going to go into this business, transparency is really important. And nobody, even the greatest people in this business, whether it's Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or, lots of other people like that, over their careers, they have had deals and transactions that were not successful. And what they had to do was just say, hey, I'm sorry, here's what I learned, here's what I'm going to do better. But I think we don't see enough of this, and I know people kind of want to, they don't even want to be transparent about it. And that is really critical, because if you're going to be in the business of having anything to do with investing money, and if you're going to be in the business of having people trust you, that is the single most important thing. People will accept that you made a mistake or it didn't turn out well, but they won't ever accept if they can't trust you. Trust is the single most important thing of all. And so that's something that I just, again, can't stress enough. On the subject of innovation, there are people far more knowledgeable than me who are going to share a lot with you today. There really isn't time in this to really share a lot with you. There are lots of new things that are happening, but I will say to you, at the real core of everything that we do, it's the same principles today than it was 20 or 30, 40 years ago. All the things I think I've tried to touch on in a short period of time, they remain the same, and they're going to remain the same 25 years ago. It's understanding and assessing risk, being as experienced as you can, and using, all the people around you, being patient, disciplined, hitting singles, and then just being as honest and transparent with people as you possibly can. And I think if you do all of that, you're going to be very, very successful. So I know my 10 minutes is up. I want to thank all of you. It's really been a pleasure. I hope you take something away from this and it helps make you more successful. So thank you very much.